Now, Rainbow Six Siege can be one of the hardest games to get into or consistently play. It is a mind-numbing game if you don't know how to get better, and it can feel very frustrating trying to get into higher ranks and compete at a higher level. So in today's video, what I plan on doing is give you guys 4 tips for every single rank in Rainbow Six Siege. Now, if you guys enjoy the content, be sure to like, sub, and comment, and let me know one tip that you would give for each rank down in the comments. Let's get right into it. Tip number 1 is find a comfy sense. At the end of the day, Siege is an FPS. You're going to have to win gunfights against proper good enemies. There's tons and tons of players who carry themselves basically on their aim to a rank like Plat, and they lack any brain power. They don't play the true structure of Siege. Whether you're on PC or console, I'd suggest thoroughly sitting down and taking time in a T-hunt or a gun range to find a sense where you can track and control recoil consistently. A good starting point is copying a pro/champ player's sense and tweaking it to your liking. I don't suggest copying a sense right out, but this is a solid starting point because sensitivity can be very difficult and there's tons and tons of options in a game like Siege. Number 2 is learning the maps and compass calls. A compass call is where the text says beside the compass in each room. Unique callouts are more specific, but I don't want to overload you with info, so learn the basics starting out. There's nothing worse than getting onto a map and not knowing where to go, where the objective is, where the pinch points are, or just even how to attack or defend a map. This can be very difficult, so what I would suggest you doing is taking a lot of time and maybe just playing some unranked if you have some friends and you guys can, maybe run around the map and just enjoy yourself. You can even go into custom games and just see how the map looks and how every objective can be played. You can get very creative. That's why I personally love Siege, because every single site you can literally make it into your own little creative sandbox type site, because you can do so much with so many types of defenders and you can attack so many different maps in different ways. So just sit down maybe in a custom for like an hour and just run around the map. My next tip is learning the fundamentals in just basic ops. So on attack, there's tons of operators, and you're just getting into Rainbow Six Siege. You probably don't know who the heck to go. You're probably just picking operators based on how they look and how cool they look. So you're probably picking, I don't know, let's say someone like Sense, who, let's be honest, they look really cool, but in general, they're a really awful operator compared to other operators that we have on attack. So I'm gonna give you a few operators that you can start out that will help you learn just the basic fundamentals of what Rainbow Six Siege is. Now, my favorite operator is Sledge. Now, the reason why Sledge is so good is just for the vertical capacity that he can have. Now, Sledge, basically what you can do with his sledgehammer is play vertical. Now what that means is when you go above a site and you work the map and you destroy the floor, this will give you all sorts of lines of sight on the enemies, and it's really hard for the defenders to defend that, especially because there's holes in lines of sight above them. Now, a good alternative for an operator like Sledge, if you're not a big fan of Sledge, is Buck. The difference between Buck and Sledge is Sledge has a sledgehammer. He's a 3 armor, 1 speed, which basically means this guy, he is just very slow. And I don't know if I said 3 armor, 1 speed. Yeah, I did. Okay, just making sure. Now, he's a chunky boy, so he's louder, but he can tank more bullets and possibly more explosions. Overall, he also has grenades compared to Buck, which, if you know anything about Siege, which you're probably new to Siege, you probably don't know. Nades are one of the most effective gadgets in the game, and a lot of operators don't have nades. So Buck is a good alternative if you don't like Sledge. On the other hand, hard breachers, you can never go wrong with an operator like Thermite. Now, there are tons of other hard breaches. You could go Ace. I know a lot of players love going Ace just because of his gun. But in terms of walls, it's very easy to mess up walls with Ace. So I would go into maybe a T-hunt and just learn, how to use his gadget. I prefer Thermite because you get all sorts of lines of sight and they open up the complete wall instead of little squares that you're just able to vault through or walk through, or you have to use multiple Ace charges. So yeah, another good pick would be Flores, because you're literally just sending a drone in that has like big destructibility, and you can destroy so many gadgets for the defenders. So I think Flores is one of the best attackers in the game at the current moment, especially with all the utility that Siege has. Now, it might be a little bit difficult learning how to use his drones at first, but it's literally you just point the drone at something and then you jump it and then you click and then boom, you just destroy all the utility. It's actually fairly simple. Let me know, guys, by the way, if you guys are experienced Siege player, what attackers would you suggest coppers to use? Those are just some that I would give, because every single operator has its own impact on Siege. It's just I find that a lot of operators now kind of do a job better than another, but there are scenarios and maps where one operator might be better. Like there's going to be maps where Ace is a lot better than going Thermite, and vice versa. On the defender side, you can never go wrong with an operator like Smoke or Mute. I'm going to put them in the same, mumbo jumbo. The hard thing about running these operators is knowing where to put rotates and where to put lines of sight. Now that is the hardest part about these operators, and just staying alive. Smoke is a little bit more important as the round closes out, because your smoke canisters does deny time, but don't be scared to use the smoke canisters if you're about to die and you need to push attackers back. But besides that, like, there's tons of videos where you can learn about rotates. I have some videos on my channel, and you can probably just ask your randoms, or you might get TK'd. I don't know. On the other side, I would probably say Jaeger is a great pick, because Jaeger is one of those operators you're always going to need. Of course, you do have a Wamai, which does his job just a little bit differently. But overall, I would say universally, I would be picking Jaeger over Wamai. It just depends on the map and site. You do see some times where both these operators are picked. But yeah, those are the two operators. Now, if you're looking for more of an easier operator to go, you can go Thunderbird, because you can just place your healing stations down, and even if you die, you'll have a huge impact on your team, and she's just overall in the meta. I would also say maybe Valkyrie could be a very fun operator, just because the amount of cams you can do, and it gives your teammates unlimited intel around the map. So those are the defenders I would personally, suggest that you go. And last but not least, at number 4, I would say learn the objective of the attacker and defender. A lot of players, for some reason, they somehow get into plat and diamond, and they still don't understand the basic fundamentals of what Siege is about. So let me explain. Get this through your skull whenever you're attacking or defending, and this will help you pick different types of operators and know how to play certain situations. So on the attacker side, what is the objective? You probably think it's to kill all 5 defenders. Well, sure, you can go about it that way. Sure, if you get into maybe a 5v1 and you're taking out you're taking ones out the ass and you're able to kill all the defenders because they're being very aggressive, but there's gonna be a lot of scenarios where you have to plant a diffuser, and that's the objective as an attacker. That is why you do everything you do. For example, that's why you have to open up walls. That's why you need to cut off lines of sight. This is why you need to take map control. That is your main objective as an attacker. Starting out from even the very start of the round, you need to use your drones effectively to take map control and take it early. The clock is against you on attack, and this is what a lot of players lack understanding. They forget the clock is against them, and what they end up doing is just baiting, and they lose so many freaking rounds. A lot of players are bad attackers, and you're going to see this until you get into probably diamond ranking, in my personal opinion. A lot of players suck at attacking because they crutch the defensive, and because they're able to just run around the map like idiots. Now, on the defense, your main objective is to deny map control and to deny them from planting the diffuser. Of course, you can get all 5 kills. That's cool. On paper, that will work every single time, but it's a lot harder than that if you're not able to really deny them map control and deny just their utility. That is why you have operators like Hayden Bandit for walls. That's why people bandit trick to get thermite charges and all of that off the wall, because you really want to lack them map control and you want to waste their utility and waste their time. The clock is for you on defense, because each second that ticks down is a second that you're wasting for the defenders if you're playing your role properly. Now on to bronze. My very first tip is learn to play each role. There's tons of roles in Siege on the attackers and defending side, and a lot of players like to one trick their way up to a certain rank, but when you are having a bad game, you're not getting frags, you're not even playing your role properly, you can get very frustrated, and this can really hurt your team overall. So what I would suggest on the attacker side is learn how to play every single role, whether that's vertical ops, whether that's hard breachers, whether that's support roles, whatever. Learn every single goddamn role. On the defender side, you have to learn how to properly play the most essential operators, whether that's a roaming operator like Vigil, or someone like Jaeger, or even someone like Smoke, or even somebody like Bandit, which is simply just bandit tricking a wall. Mastering these ops is going to be the best way you're going to get the best rank out of this game, and it's going to make you more flexible whether you play with the most random people in solo queue or you're using Discord LFG. My next tip is to stop listening to content creators and pros. Now, hear me out. I know this sounds insane because I'm literally making a tips and tricks video for you guys and I'm a content creator. But for somebody that's in copper and bronze and silver ranking, a lot of the times if you listen to content creators about their site setup and you try to use that site setup in those rankings, it just won't work. That's because a lot of content creators are in the highest ranking in the game, which is champion, or you're listening to pro players who play the best players in the world. The meta is completely different. Until you get into a higher rank, I would say around diamond, plat to champion, that is when you start listening to their site setups, because site setup is so important. And a lot of the times when you're in bronze, copper and silver, the attackers are not going to attack the map properly, so you're going to see some wonky setups. So that's why that mostly just wouldn't work unless you're in a 5-stack where you can coordinate properly. If you're solo queuing, going castle, trying to run an SSG roam strat on Clubhouse, it is just not going to work, and you're going to actually hurt your team more than you're helping. So just feel out the ranking that you're in and wait until you're in a higher rank where enemies will respect your site setups. 3, use your mic. And this shouldn't even be a tip, but this is something that a lot of players for some reason don't even do nowadays. A lot of players lack the understanding that you need to really give some good comms and be able to communicate with your teammates. So start out now while you're lower ranked to really understand how to fundamentally play the game. Because once you get into the higher ranks, you're going to have to analyze situations and talk to your teammates. Sure, you can maybe carry yourself out of bronze and silver just running around gunning, but being able to know how to properly calm and give clear comms is going to make you a lethal player in the long run. Last is just playing the game. And I know this probably isn't a helpful tip for many because they're just going to be like, I play the game so much. But you really have to put time into something to get good at it, and it's going to take some time. Siege is a very complex game, and if you're just now taking Siege serious, like almost 8 years into its lifespan, it's going to take you some time to get good at it because there's over 66 operators at the time of this recording, and there's so many different maps and different site setups, and the meta constantly changes. So you're going to have to really keep up with what's happening, whether that's by watching content creators while you're playing or just keep paying attention to Pro League or whatever. Just play as much as you can when you enjoy it and just have fun. The first tip I would give for Silver is to analyze his mistakes. Sure, you might have teammates that throw, that suck, that you question how are they in this rank, but at the end of the day, you cannot determine your rank based on your teammates consistently. Sure, you might be solo queuing a lot, but I've had seasons where, don't get me wrong, I've definitely lost a lot of games because I solo queued and had some silly teammates, but I still ended up in Diamond before Emerald was a thing. So honestly, it's on you, and I know that sucks to say, but you have to be able to ask yourself every time you make a mistake or every time you die in a round, ask yourself, how could have you positioned yourself better? If you go into Siege with that mindset, you're going to be a lot more successful instead of blaming your teammates. Sure, I agree, a lot of people do suck, but some people aren't taking it as serious as you, especially when you're in the lower ranks, for example, Silver. Everybody is just trying to have fun, and they're just trying to play at a competitive nature in that rank. Some people might be more advanced than you, and some people might be less. You have to really put that in perspective. Number 2 is being able to think on your feet. Now, this is something that I would probably put at a highest, ranking type thing, because this is what a lot of champion players learn to really execute and just be like, they mastered basically. Siege is very chaotic. There's going to be a lot of rounds where things just don't go as planned. You're going to end up in a 1v5 some rounds, and you're just going to have to think on your feet. This all comes down to positioning as well. Positioning is a very important thing in Siege, so you have to be able to analyze what your teammates are doing. By the way, I'm saying analyze a lot. That's annoying. Anyways, so throughout rounds, whether you're solo queuing or 5-manning, you're going to have to read the room. You have to be able to see what your teammates are doing, what they are watching, and you have to think from their perspective, so you can better play off of them, and so you can almost read a pinch, if that makes sense. For example, there's going to be a lot of attacking rounds where you notice your teammates are stalling out, and if you're in a 5-man or you have comms with these guys, you're going to have to tell them that, or you're going to have to put yourself in a refraggable position. At number 3 is exercise and stay hydrated. This is the most basic tip I can give literally anybody in any rank, but it's very effective. If you spend 8 hours a day at your gaming setup drinking Mountain Dew and eating Doritos with 0 water intake, you're probably going to feel very crappy about yourself. Not just mentally, but physically. Your body needs a lot of water, and the average person is quite dehydrated. So something I would suggest is get your water intake in, because your reaction time is going to be a lot better. You're going to be thinking clearer, and you're just going to play overall better. I know for me, when I work out, I feel just locked in. I feel like a lot more clear, so it's just something that I would suggest everybody picking up, especially me being 22 years old and letting my body go throughout the years because of just a lot of different things. Picking up working out has really helped me just feel better about myself mentally and just physically. Pick it up, like especially now if you're younger, because your body will thank you as you get older. At number 4 is VOD review yourself. So like in Rainbow Six Siege right now, we are fortunate to have match replay. You're going to want to go into that mode to really master your positioning and ask yourself once again what you could have done better. Whether that's winning or losing, you can go back and utilize match replay, because there's going to be rounds and games where you 4-0 people, but there's also going to be a lot of games where you get 4-0'd or you just get completely dunked on. So you can really ask yourself and look around what you could have done better, how you could have positioned yourself better, and how you could have utilized your teammates more. My first tip for golds is setup site. I'm sorry, maybe like shout out to you golds or you players in general that just set up site and play the game how it's supposed to be played. But I know for me, I get in games with people who literally do not reinforce anything, and I'm sitting in champion hidden MMR. Do you know how frustrating that is when or even if I solo queue in like diamond MMR? Like why don't people set up site anymore? They pick useless ops to run around and take ones. Like, please just set up site. Please learn early. Like learn like that is the whole point of Siege. If you want to run around and play like an idiot, go play Call of Duty, go play any other game. Hell, go play Valorant, because you don't have to set up any sites unless like you have the 30 minute timer for defense. Number 2 is being able to adjust to your enemies. Now, gold is the rank where you're going to see all sorts of creatures. You're gonna see the best players when it comes to just site setup, to like just the way they play. You're gonna see some very coordinated stacks, and then you're gonna see some very idiotic people that run around and just want to shoot. So the best thing I would be able to tell you is try to read your enemies. You start to notice that they're playing like rats. Okay, readjust the way you attack or readjust the way you defend. Maybe you bring a little bit more utility on the defensive end. Maybe you try to play crossfires and communicate with your teammates to stop maybe roaming across the map because they're taking sight within the first minute. Being able to readjust is very important in Siege. And instead of complaining about your teammates playing the game improperly or idiotic, readjust. Because you can't play Siege wrong, I guess, at this point, because at the end of the day, whatever gets you the win, unless you cheat. If you cheat, you suck. Number 3 is to stop overusing these R6 analytic sites and applications. For a lot of people, you guys weigh heavy on just these analytics. You guys will worry so much about your enemies' ranks and KDs that it will throw you off and make you play absolutely awful. Like, stop over exaggerating because somebody has a high KD or they're a rank higher than you, or stop underestimating people that have lower KDs, because you're going to be shit talking somebody that has a 0.7 KD and they're going to 4-0 you and you're going to be just distraught. Last, stop caring about your KD and your individual stats. A lot of players come into my Twitch stream and they'll come in my chat and they'll be like, hey man, I have a 1.5 KD, but I'm gold. How do I improve? Like, how do I get better? How do I get over this rank? And I tell them, I'm like, stop reflecting your KD based on how well you are and how good of a player you are, because at the end of the day, like, KD is such a simple stat in such a complex game. Rainbow Six Siege, honestly, like, having a KD like stat is just idiotic, because the casual community is going to sit there and analyze those stats and think that you're good or bad just based on that. I think it's the silliest stuff ever, and it's usually like golds and low plats that really care about these stats, especially if you go into an Xbox LFG or Discord LFG, which is basically a looking for group post to find people to play with, and people will be like, don't join unless you have a 1.1 KD and above. Like, brother, I've seen so many players have a 0.8 KD that are way better than players with 1.5 KD. It's because the players that have a 0.8 KD are more likely to play for the team and play off refrags than the players that have 1.5 KDs and bait. So KD doesn't really define skill, man. Okay, for my first tip for platinum players is drop the ego. For some reason, when players get into platinum, they think that they're the best thing to ever exist. And if this doesn't result to you, I would skip to the next tip. But for a lot of players, they think that they're automatically better than gold players. They'll have this ego, and like, once again, I'm referring back to the Discord LFGs and the Xbox LFGs. A lot of players, for some reason, think that they are the best. Like, they will shit on gold players and anybody below them when their peak rank has been platinum. At the end of the day, your rank doesn't define skill. I hope you know that. Unless you are the lowest rank in the game, which is copper, then like, that's the only time I think that rank defines skill, because you're so brand new to the game. Number 2 is learn unique callouts. If you probably skip towards this section because you are plat, in the earlier on in the video, I think in copper, I was talking about compass callouts. Now, for you guys need to learn the unique callouts, because I'm going to assume that you know compass callouts, right? Now let's go over like what a unique callout specifically is. Now let's say that you're on border right now and you're in army lockers. So a lot of people just call out army lockers, and as you can tell, this entire area is army lockers, and that's very troublesome for somebody trying to give a call out. So let's go on about, and let me show you some basic, call outs. Default plant is right here. This is where someone would try to plant, because usually this is reinforced. They open the breach, they have somebody watching the swing, whatever. This is half wall. As you can tell, these are just more specific callouts. That's all unique callout is. This is sandwich window. This is Africa. This entire like little lockers area right here is Africa. You could say like on bomb chassis, like right here around like the lockers. This is small office, of course. I've never heard anybody call this army desk, by the way. If you called out army desk, I don't think I would understand that call out, just because small office is so much easier than saying army desk. This is bricks. Now, if you guys really want to go and learn every single unique callout, that is going to be a little bit more difficult, because like, I think I might have a video, or other content creators like Athena or Pox Unlocks would probably also have a video. But you have to realize that universally there are unique callouts that everybody should understand. Like, for example, sandwich, Africa, half wall, and like everything I just said. But some teams have their own specific callouts. So if you hear something that's wild as hell and you're using team callouts in a Discord or in a 5-stack, you're just throwing yourself off, and because your teammates are not going to understand. Like, say instead of somebody calling this Africa, they called it clown emoji, you'd be like, what the hell is clown emoji? So like, you get what I'm saying though. Like, learn the unique callouts, and this will carry on to my next tip. Okay, so my next tip is play with people that are better than you, whether that's higher ranking or just better in skill and they have more experience. That is how I got better at Siege. Besides me putting in lots of time, watching videos, whatever, early on, I just played with higher ranks. And I met people through like Instagram or Discord LFGs, or I met a lot of friends through Xbox LFGs, surprisingly, back in the day. Now, don't get me wrong, Xbox LFG is a very hard place to find people that you can vibe and mesh well with and don't have ego. goes, but I met a lot of good people that way, and I've learned so much throughout that experience. So you have to just play with people better than you. So just try to find people to play with as much as possible. My next tip is finding people to play with. Now, my Discord got hacked a few months ago, and I started a new Discord. So if you guys do want to join, there is an Xbox LFG, PlayStation, and PC LFG as well. If you guys do want to join, you can just there's a Discord link down in the description. I'm trying to build it back up. I had almost 20,000 members. Now I'm at like 1,000. So it's kind of depressing. But this is a great way to stop solo queuing, because if you really want to get out of plat and get into the higher ranks, 5 stacking is going to be the fastest way to do so, because one, you're going to learn how to play the game in a more efficient manner, and you're not going to be so lonely. Siege is a very boring game when you're solo queuing consistently. Now we're on to Diamond. This is the ranking in my first tip, where I would say that you should learn Pro League strats, and you should learn why these strats work. For example, a lot of players will implement these basic strats into ranked, and it's kind of just the basic meta. From there, what you should be doing is you should try to break down the strat and how you can, and ask yourself how you can expand upon the strat. Now, of course, once again, if you're solo queuing a lot, this is going to be a lot harder, but a lot of the basic meta is set from Pro League. So you can really sit down and just be like, okay, if I'm solo queuing, how can I expand around this strat and not be throwing like my teammates off? Because, you know, a lot of people have different ideas on how the map should be played. So yeah, I would really sit down and try to learn these strats. You can do this by watching a lot of content on YouTube, or you can just watch Pro League in general. It's a fun way to just learn the game, and you can try to pick the brains of the pro players by just watching them play. Like, you could kind of put yourself in their shoes and be like, why are they doing this? Now, I feel like this tip is a little bit high on this list, but for diamonds, I feel like a lot of players with this new rank 2.0 system, a lot of players are now getting into higher ranks that they'd never seen before, and that's because ranked is a lot easier, because, you know, you get more rewarded for winning and less slap on the wrist if you lose. So learning refrags, basically all a refrag is a 1-for-1 trade, and it's you putting yourself in a position to trade off your teammate if they were to get fragged. This is very essential in a game like Siege, because man advantage is very important, and it just helps for, say, on attack, you pitching sight and you just collapsing on sight, or on defense, it's stopping the attackers. So you just have to analyze where you are in the map and where you can play off of your teammates to try to get that 1-for-1 trade, or just hold across. Positioning is so important in Siege, and it's the most essential part of the game. My third tip is learn to take a break. Siege can be very, 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 very overwhelming playing after a long period of time, and like you're gonna get very angry and very frustrated. Fatigue is very normal, like very, very, very. Notice how I keep saying very? Learn to take a break, and if you're not having fun, stop playing the game. A lot of players overplay themselves, and you wonder why you don't enjoy Siege. It's because you play it so goddamn much. Take a break, maybe go outside, touch some grass. Grass? God, I hate being Canadian with this accent. Or go outside and throw a snowball at like a grandma walking across the street, you know, like do something else. Or even go play Garfield Kart, which is a great kart game that you should definitely go buy on Steam. Anything but playing Siege when you're getting so overwhelmed and you've been losing so much. Learn to take your wins and take less losses, because you play the game less. Last but not least is aim train. For some reason, there's a stigma whether or not aim training works or it doesn't, and it does work. If you aim train, your aim will be more crisp and more consistent. So if you want to win more gunfights and you want to have an advantage over the like enemy that's on like Adderall and just cracked out, aim train and just stay on the same routine. And once again, you mix all the tips I've had beforehand, you're going to be a lethal player, including being hydrated and working out. My first tip for Emerald players is have fun. I think I've said this for one of the ranks previously, but I feel like this is one of the ranks that's closest to champion, and this is also where you're probably going to be sweating the most. You have to have fun when playing Siege. You have to enjoy the experience in the games that you're playing, or you're just not going to have fun. You're going to be burnt out, you're going to play bad, you're going to be more fatigued. So please just learn to have fun and learn to have, you know, a fun experience for the randoms and just a positive mental. Next tip I would say is learn to be random. And by this, I mean your site setups, your, attacking. Don't do the same thing every single round. Unless you're absolutely destroying the enemies. For a lot of games in this ranking, you're going to have games where it's going to be a tight nine rounds. And I feel like a lot of the issue with players is when they're on defense and when they're on attack, is they do the same defense and attack. And unless it's working flawlessly every single round, you should definitely try to switch it up, or the enemies are going to try to reposition themselves to see if you repeat yourself, and they're going to catch you lacking. So learn to do something different. Third tip is learn to use your drones the best of your ability. This rank is probably the most important next to champion, where your drones are going to be the most important, and that's just because of how hungry people are for drones. And you know why I know this? Because I'm one of those people. At the start of prep phase, before I reinforce, before I put down any utility, it really depends on the operator though, I will run around and shoot as many drones as possible, because I know how important drones are and how important it is to shoot as many possible in the prep phase. If I can shoot 3 drones in the prep phase, or even just 1, that's a W, because then the enemy team only has 9 pieces of intel for the round, and that can be the decider whether we lose or win the round. A good rule of thumb is just have one of your teammates drone and find the site, and then try to get that drone out of there. The rest should all be pre-placed for your entries to take specific pinch points of the map, or just pocket them. There's no point in suiciding your drone. I understand that you probably think ranked is not that deep, and if that's how you want to play it, sure. But if you want to win as many games as possible, you have to utilize your drone economy. My very last tip is to just be always open to learn, no matter what rank you are, because once you hit champion, you might think that you know everything and that you can improve, but no matter what, you can still improve. That's the thing I love about Siege. There's always something I can improve on. Rank does not define skill. Even though I'm champion and I've been playing this game for almost 8 years now, there's so much I can still learn, because there's still people that's better than me, have different perspectives than me. They have different site setups that they might want to try, and you never know, it might work. So overall, I'm just trying to say, don't have an ego, because that doesn't make gaming fun at all. At the end of the day, this isn't a game. This is a game, and you're not a pro player. You're not making a wage off of this. So why are you that deep into thinking that you're the best in the goddamn world? Like, even pro players fuck around and have fun. So yeah. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video and you found some helpful tips out of this and you have some questions, you can go down in the comments and ask me. Or besides that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and be sure to like, sub, and comment if you made it this far into the video. Besides that, have a good day, guys.